So Steph Corker is going to be taking it away and closing this afternoon, but don't leave right after her. I still have to talk. So.
All right, so I'm at the Montreal airport. Who's been to the Montreal airport? Oh, awesome. You know exactly where I was. The Montreal airport, and I'm waiting for my bike to come off the carousel. And I look down, and my ankles go into my calves, or my calves go into my ankles. It's known as cankles, you know, and my quads are throbbing, and my shoulders are still like so tight you just want a massage. And I think among a sea of people waiting for their bikes to come off this carousel, I just don't know, with my cankles and my quads, if I can take my own bike off this carousel. And I think to myself, all of these athletes are going to think, why are you picking up a bike if you can't walk through this airport, you know? And I see a sweet old man in the corner, and he's a porter. And I've never used a porter service at an airport before, but I think now could be my chance. And I look to that sweet old man and I say, "Porter, can you please help me carry my bags?" And he said, "Aren't you here for the Ironman race?" And I said, "I am here for the Ironman race, but it's 3 days away, and I have 3 days to get ready for it." I did not think this was funny. This is not meant to be funny. This is real. I am in excruciating pain. And the porter, without a blink of an eye, collects all of my bags and packs my bike onto his sweet cart, and we proceed out to the sidewalk where I'm going to get a rental car, which, by the way, the idea of driving a rental car now 2 hours to Tremblant feels excruciating in and of itself. And I think, wow, this trip has been nothing short of a million bold requests. So I don't like introductions, but I really like Mark. And I am so honored to get to wrap up tonight. I am a triathlete. My name is Steph Corker. And I'm going to tell you about 10 seconds of courage and my relationship with 10 seconds of courage through what my journey of Ironman has been. And you see, that trip to Montreal was my 4th Ironman in 5 months. And to put this into context, tomorrow is the BMO Marathon. And I'm not running. Is anyone running? Runners? No, you shouldn't be. You should be here. I was like, wait, that's a trick. That's a trick question. I was like, running a marathon gives me butterflies. And then I look back to that year and I think, that year I ran 4 marathons in 5 months. That's bonkers. But you know what happens before a marathon in an Ironman? Does anyone know Ironman? And it's even better if you don't, because who cares? Who cares? I'm just going to tell you for context. An Ironman consists of a 4-kilometer swim, a 180-kilometer bike ride, and then a marathon. Okay, and that's Ironman. And I was in Montreal to do another Ironman in a short period of time because I had failed at qualifying for the World Championships in Kona by 1 spot 3 times over. You see, the way it works as an amateur is if you win your age group, you get a ticket to race on the Big Island at the World Championships. If you come second, you might get to go. 3rd place, no way. And I was best at coming second and third. So you're always on the podium, and you're never going to Kona. And I had the opportunity to be sponsored. So I had a bike sponsor and a shoe sponsor and all these great sponsors. And I became really good at calling these sponsors and saying, "I came second. Will you please give me an entry to the next Ironman?" And they were like, "But it's 3 weeks away and it's on the other side of the country." And I was like, "I'm there. I just need the entry." And that worked really well until Montreal, because I ran out of sponsors to call. I'd already called my bike sponsor and gotten a ticket to the next Ironman and had come second. And then I called my shoe sponsor and I got a ticket to the next race and came third. And the pattern repeats itself. So I tell you this story because when I showed up in Montreal, I had to call my bike sponsor for the second time in 1 year and say I'd failed. I'm really close, but it wasn't good enough. And every time I made the call, they were like, no problem, you're in. But I don't want to make bum jokes, but the nerve, the fear of making the phone call it felt like an Ironman. And it only took 10 seconds to ask the question. They didn't even care that I failed. The question was just, can you get me an entry? 10 seconds. So by the time I got to Montreal with my cankles and my burning quads, I thought, I am so good at 10 seconds of courage for really bold requests en route to chase this dream. That's lesson number 1. I have 3 lessons. I'm going to tell you all 3 of my lessons by version of a story of Ironman, because Ironman to me is my art. I've just shared with you how terrible I've been and how many times I've failed. I can tell you those stories over and over. The first lesson is having 10 seconds to make a bold request. The second lesson comes about looking good. And I say this, I was like, wow, Mark, I should have given Mark intro notes because I don't know that any of this is inspiring yet. But hopefully we'll get there. We'll get there. So the second lesson, well, forget the lesson. Let me just tell you the story. Or better yet, how about I just finish Montreal? I came third. I didn't qualify. 4 Ironmans, 5 months, every sponsor. So then after that, of course, I had to call the sponsors and say, I haven't qualified, but will you please sponsor me next year? And maybe the lesson was that I had to have the courage to make all of those bold requests during the year so that at the end of the year, I had enough guts to say, I failed, and are you on board for 1 more year? Let's go do this 1 more time. And they said yes, and so I'm pumped. And I say that this year needs to be different because, quite frankly, I don't want to do 4 Ironmans in 5 months. There are different ways to achieve our dreams. The end goal was to race in Hawaii and race in Kona. And so I start the year off, and I'm at a training camp in LA in January. And I think I'm going to start early, I'm going to get ahead of this, and I'm going to, put miles in the bank, so to speak. Are there any cyclists in the room? Cyclists, some of you. The awesome thing or not awesome thing about cycling is that you become better with more miles. That just means it's a lot of hours spent on a bike, The end goal is that you can ride 180 kilometers and make it feel like ain't no thing. So I'm in LA in January at a training camp, and I'm riding behind 2 awesome gentlemen. One is the national triathlon coach of the US, and one happens to be my coach, and he works out of the National Training Center in Victoria. And they're talking up front, and they don't know that I can hear them. It doesn't matter that I can hear them. They're talking. And they're talking about this person who's tried so hard to qualify for Kona, and they just haven't quite made it. And the national team coach turns to my coach and says, when are you just going to tell her to give up? And I was like, in my stomach, I was like, oh, that poor athlete. I would hate for that to be my coach, or for me to be a part of that conversation. And then we roll up to a red light, and they stop and they turn back, and Coach Jasper turns and says, Mike, this is Steph. This is who we were talking about. And I was like, for the last 90 minutes, you've been talking about me and all of the different ways you're going to tell me to give up. And I was like, okay, got it. And this was in January. This was on my quest to to make this year a different year, you know? And so lesson 2 becomes having 10 seconds of courage when no one believes in you. And I think this is real because there's lots of times that people don't believe in us. And it's easy to have an Instagram inspirational quote about that. It's a lot different to hear it on a bike ride. You know? Just like, don't post shit on Instagram unless you'd say it in real life. And I came back to the hotel that night and I said, Jazzy, I heard you. I get it. You know, I get that I am not your A player. I have a great track record of not qualifying for Kona. I get it. And I just want you to know that I'm going to win Ironman this year. And he's like, we'll see. And I said, what you need to know, Coach Jazzy, is that it's going to take me 10 seconds of courage to remind you because I know that you don't believe. And I'm okay with that, but I wouldn't mind if you would give me those 10 seconds back. He was like, okay. And I said, so it's out in the ether, and you know and I know, and thanks for taking up those 10 seconds, and let's get on with the year. And this, this race was in July, and the Ironman World Championship race is in October. And so unlike previous years where I had gone to race, I was saving it all up. One shot, one opportunity, Ironman Canada or bust. If I didn't qualify in that one race, then I was going to say, you know, pack the Kona dream in. It's been fun. I have a lot of stories, and I have a lot of examples of 10 seconds of courage, and I'm okay if it doesn't go as planned. All right, so lesson 1 is 10 seconds of courage and bold requests. You call the sponsors, you sign up, you ask the porter for help, they help. 10 seconds of courage for bold requests. The second lesson was 10 seconds of courage when no one believes in you. Now, I wanted to come and talk to you about 10 seconds of courage because it is very easy to publish highlights. It's very easy to tell you about how long an Ironman race is or, you know, winning, losing, whatever along the way. And that's the story of a lot of athletes. And in fact, it's very timely that I share this. Who watched the marathon last night, Breaking 2? Did anyone watch this? All right, an exceptional feat was done yesterday night from 8:30 p.m. till 10:30 p.m. Nike put on the Breaking 2 campaign. They wanted to train 3 athletes to break 2 hours in the marathon. I mean, you laugh, I know. It's like, it's so bananas. It's so bananas. And I'm going to just cut to the chase because the world record was 2:03, I believe. And the idea of knocking 3 minutes off of the world record was like unheard of. And in the name of sharing a dream and not having anyone that believes in it, I didn't read anything anywhere that anyone other than the Nike innovation team thought it was possible. It just became this petri dish of good luck, no way, you know? And what happened last night was that the winner crossed the line in 2 hours and 24 seconds. And I thought, what a freaking great story, because I'm going to come and tell you about 10 seconds of courage or 24 seconds of courage. What's the difference? You know, I mean, there's a lot. Okay, bad example. But I mean, go Google this and check it out because, I mean, just these stats, even if you're not a runner, I think everyone in the room can appreciate this. The last 90 marathon winners, okay? Stay with me. I'm totally off course. And Mark, you're going to have to just tell me when I have to stop talking. Okay. But you need to know this. You need to know. This is like pop culture. This is where athletes meet art, you know? The last 90 marathon winners have only run 5 kilometers in 14 minutes in the race 10 times. Okay? So 14-minute, 5-kilometer section of the marathon. I mean, for context, it's 28-minute, 10-kilometer race. That is fast. That's very, very fast. Well, they had to run 14 minutes for 5 kilometers for the entire marathon to break 2 hours. You know, they've been working on this for 2 years. And when this sweet man crossed the line, it was, I mean, the gold medal in Rio, that's who won last night. He went a best time by 2.5 minutes. And I had to turn it off right at the end because Nike was like, "You were so close." And he was like, "I'm so happy. I have just done what has never been done." I was 24 seconds away. You know, I mean, those are the stories that are so, so remarkable. And the best part and the best line, I hope this ends up on Instagram, is that he crossed and said, "Thank you to my pacers for their bodies and their minds." And it was so beautiful because there were 6 pacers at all times circulating and a laser. So they knew exactly where they needed to be to run to the time. So as soon as you saw them sort of 2 steps back from the laser, you were like, "That's 2 seconds. You don't have 2 seconds. Like, get up to the laser." And for a marathon, I mean, it's so unreal. And anyway, I digress with that story because it's 24 seconds, and I think I might need to renovate my own appreciation of 10 seconds of courage to 24 seconds of courage, just because that was so phenomenal. But, you know, the other side is, the other lesson that I wanted to leave you with in the name of 10 seconds of courage is the idea of repeating 10 seconds of courage over and over again. And I think that is why I've come to appreciate Ironman, because what Ironman is a long day of 10 seconds of courage. It's a long day where you don't really know what's going on. Oh, am I too loud? Where you don't really know what's going on up ahead and you don't really know what's going on behind. And people are known for shitting themselves and walking off the course, and people are known for getting a final big burst and you know, running really fast right at the end. You just never know what will happen. And as I was saying about, you know, the power of 10 seconds of courage is those repeatable moments that no one knows, the repeatable moments that no one talks about. I share with you my story of Montreal because no one hears that. The national team coach only hears she didn't qualify. I was like, "Do you know how much guts it took to get on that plane and show up at the start line? Do you know what it took to ask the sponsor to get there? No. Do they care? No. Should they care? Maybe not." Because the power of 10 seconds of courage, especially when we get into the practice of it and it being on repeat, is that no one else needs to care. And no one else, frankly, needs to know. And to the external world, to the story, to the bio, to what you post on social media, might not ever be known. But those are the moments that I think change us. And I get to stand up now and tell you that it's been a lot of moments of 10 seconds of courage on repeat, a lot of bold requests, a lot of times of awesome, sweet people not believing. I mean, if we want to get really real, I looked at my first husband and said, "I want to do an Ironman," and he said, "No way." And it wasn't Ironman or him, but we were divorced 2 months later. The power when you don't believe. And I get to stand up here now and tell you that I've done 16 Ironmans in the last 4 years. I've raced on the Big Island of Hawaii 3 times. And I just took my pro card. And now I'm racing as a professional triathlete while rocking a consulting business. Thank you. And I wanted to save that till the end because I wanted you to know about Montreal. I wanted you to know about the 10 seconds that don't appear on my resume or anywhere else, frankly, on the internet. And my only hope is that you will take this with 10 seconds of courage, or maybe 24 seconds of courage, and recognize that you too can change your life. Thank you.